Right, we're live. All alone. I'm just doing a bit of admin. I want to just share this far and wide to see if anyone actually wants to listen to me chat shit. And to be fair, I've got quite a few questions. So I put something on my story earlier and asked people to send me any questions they might have. Gave a few people a few prompts. So hopefully it'll be relatively interesting. And if it's not really my fault. I don't like to say that, actually. It's not taking accountability, is it? But based on the questions I've been asked, I can only answer those, can't I? Another thing that I generally tend to do when I go live on my own is speak to myself, and then there's no sound. And because there's no one actually watching right now, I don't. Oh, there's one person live. That person could tell me if they could hear me. That would be really useful, because if not, it's just me miming. And unless you're deaf and good at lip reading, you probably won't be able to understand me. And they've gone. So maybe they couldn't hear me. I guess we'll never know. Oh, someone's back. Are you my one live viewer? If so, please comment. And I'm going to get stuck in when I've just finished this last share. I'm going to get stuck into the questions. Right. Let's get going. So, in fact, I called it What a Week. That was the title of the show to start with. And I called it that because I've had quite the week. It's been pretty mental. So I'm just going to go through like what I've done, what I've been up to with the brand, with Defiant Print, with me personally, and just see what you reckon. Because I think there's like a lesson in there for. Sorry, I'm just doing the last bit right now. Right, we're good. I'm all yours. All yours. All none of you. Yeah, so I am in the process at the moment where obviously we're taking on way more work with the brand, with Defiant, and I'm just obviously doing as much as possible. And then this week I'm moving house, which is obviously always relatively painful. But I've done that on top of like being at CrossFit Glasgow for the Open, did the Open workout at our gym project on Friday morning, then drove up to Glasgow that day, did Friday Night Lights, then drove back so that I could set Forge Functional Fitness up for our individual competition, the Defiant ones. So I did that on the Saturday, and then on the Sunday had the Defiant ones, and then from there just kind of did the mop up of that, moved out, and got in the process of moving out. So what I wanted to kind of just say on that is like I would say that I've been probably pushed to my limits. I've pushed myself to my limits, I would say, because obviously a lot of what I did, I wanted to do for work. And I think there's like a lesson just to be learned in terms of resilience. It's like people want, I feel like we live in a world where people want the outcome, but they don't want the work that leads to the outcome. And I think it's hard. Life is hard, and work is hard, and building a business is hard. Running a competition is hard. Moving house is hard, and doing all those things together is fucking hard. But you have to accept along the way that it's okay that it's hard. And if people are around you and you've built a good community and you've got good friends, good family, they'll support you. But you've got to just accept that when something's hard that's supposed to be hard, that's okay. And it's the same with like, I feel like, sadness and all those types of emotions. It's like society tries to condition us to feel that when we feel like an extreme feeling, whether that is sadness, overwhelm, whatever it may be, that it's not okay. And we're told that it's okay to not be okay. And I think it's just really bad advice, because obviously we want everyone to be okay, but telling them it's okay when they're not okay gives the wrong message, and it doesn't build the resilience you need in order to succeed in anything, whether that's personal life or professional. So I felt like at some points over the last week or so, and even today with everything I've got going on, like that sort of overwhelm, but it's all stuff I wanted. It's all stuff I asked for. I want to be busy. You know, I want to sell my house. I want to go to Glasgow and spend time with the community. And then I want to go to Method and do it all again this week. I want to do those things. So if it gets hard along the way, then tough shit. You wanted it, you've got it. Now deal with it and make it what you want it to be. And then once you accept accountability and responsibility for those feelings and those emotions, then they don't control you. You kind of learn to control them. And one of the questions that somebody asked to me on the chat that I put out there was, what keeps me coming back for more every single day? And it's exactly that. It's that I want these things. I want to be successful. I want to work hard. I want to be known for working hard. That I love it when people say that to me. So if you want these things, you've got to accept that things are going to get shit along the way. And you've just got to be able to compartmentalize that and not think that it's shit because it's shit. It's shit because it's hard. And hard, you know, the harder something is, the more it pushes your boundaries, it pushes your limits. But if it's what you wanted, then you've just got to find a way to move past it. And maybe people think they want something, and then when it gets hard, it overwhelms them because maybe they don't really want that thing. You know, it's like if you look at people in poorer countries and stuff that maybe have to walk miles and miles and miles to get water just so that they can survive, they're never thinking, you know what, fuck it, I'll just not have no water today, I'll just die. You know, they do it because they have to. And that's the key. And I know it's totally different and that's an extreme example, but I think it's a good lesson in terms of resilience and what you're capable of, because what we are capable of as people is insane. But if you're not right here in your mind, then there's nothing you can do. And I think when, like I say, that question about what keeps me coming back is I want to be successful. And I don't know, when I say successful, that isn't like me saying I want to be a millionaire, a billionaire and all this. I just want to be successful to me. I want to know that I've given everything to what I'm doing so that when my time comes, I remember hearing David Goggins say once that he didn't want to be on his deathbed, an old man, and look back and think, I could have been great. And maybe that, I think that's maybe what keeps me going. And what great is irrelevant. You know, great is different to everybody. We've all got different objectives, different goals, different aspirations. But knowing that you've given everything you can give, you've fulfilled every ounce of your potential, that is what keeps me going every day. And I've said it before on various podcasts where I feel like there's been significant chunks of my life where I haven't done that. And I'm making up for that time now. And that's what keeps me going. And that's never been more prevalent than in the last week, because it's probably been one of the most difficult weeks I've had. And on top of that, I am a weirdly sentimental being about certain things. You know, this house that I'm in, I know it's just bricks and mortar and all that, but I've gone through significant change since living in this house, all for the better. So it's been like, I don't know, I don't want to say it's been my castle, you know, my safe place and all that shit, but it kind of has. You know, when I moved into this house, I was a totally different person to the person I am moving out of it. And that's all for the better. I've become a much better person. And I know it's not the house that does it, but when you've gone on quite a significant journey in a location, it kind of becomes that sort of safe place for you, doesn't it? And, you know, that I am weirdly sentimental about things like that. And it's bizarre, but yeah. So that's a long-winded way about what keeps me coming back for more. And it's just that desire to be the best I can be. And if everybody had that, you know, and in doing that, you have to set realistic targets on that. It's about being the best you can be, not compared to anybody except yourself. And I think that's the thing that makes people great in a CrossFit gym. As a good example is like, if you only care about your journey in CrossFit, you will have the most amazing experience. If you're the kind of person that's looking around, worrying about what everyone else is doing, worrying about why they can do stuff you can't, all you do is detract from your own journey. So in life, just like in CrossFit, just like in anything, be the best you can be. Put the work in to get the results that you want. That's all that's in your control. And anything outside of that is almost irrelevant, because if you can't control it, then why are you letting it occupy your mind? Why are you letting it occupy your time? And why even worry about it at all? There's an amazing saying. It was in Van Wilder, which is one of my favorite films, where he says, worrying's like a rocking chair. It gives you something to do, but it doesn't get you anywhere. And that's a great mantra to have in your life. Like, if you can influence it, if you can control it, do it. if you can't, does it matter? Is it anything to do with you? Probably not. So onto that, I've talked about CrossFit a bit there, but I've got quite a few CrossFit questions. But one thing I am going to do, because I've just talked about responsibility for quite a large chunk of that there. Someone asked me how I deal with complaints. And I like that question because I think the person that asked it was tongue in cheek, because I am known for being quite short, quite abrupt. But the moment somebody takes responsibility to me, it completely disarms me in any way. Same with apologies. I can be fuming at someone for doing something, and the moment they apologize, that's them taking accountability and responsibility. And what more can someone do? You know, we all fuck up. As long as we own it, that's fine. And when I talk about complaints, what I mean on that is, you know, if we send the wrong order out and someone's upset, then we just swap it and we apologize. And I usually offer them a voucher as well on top of the correct item, let them keep the item we've sent incorrectly if they want to, you know, because we fucked up and we should own that, and we should make sure that customer's experience is turned around. When I struggle is when a customer maybe is at fault and then complain to you to make it your problem. That's when I struggle to be as, what would you say, forthcoming with my goodwill. And the reason for that is, I've had an example like quite a while ago now where somebody had put the incorrect address in, so we'd shipped to the address that they put, and they were complaining to us that they didn't receive the parcel and trying to make it our fault that they'd put the wrong details in. And you know, in that instance, eventually I shipped a new item, but I dragged my feet, I don't mind admitting that, and I dragged it out, and because of the way that person acted. And you know, if that person had come to us, messaged and said, I fucked up, I put wrong address in, I'm such an idiot, you know, I would have immediately just sent them something. But when you don't take responsibility, like I say, it's not defenses, I just don't have I have no tolerance for someone that's not willing to accept responsibility. And I don't know if that's because I've been on that journey myself. I would say that there were a time in my life when I didn't take responsibility. And now I do. I think that, you know, my life has got infinitely better, you know, since I learned to take responsibility. So yeah, I deal with complaints I'm always, like I say, I think service is the most important thing in the world. Good service. It's so easy to provide good service, and I think that people overlook it. And I was talking to Danielle, who works for us. I was talking to her about the difference between big businesses and little businesses. And you know, there's small businesses prioritize service because they generally have to, don't they, to be able to compete, because they maybe not as, you know, the products might not be as good as your bigger brands, you know, they might not have the resources, etc. But what they can influence is their service. So I think a small brand becomes a big brand by getting service right consistently. But then you see some of these big brands that must have started that way, that now they've got a monopoly on the market and the service is terrible. And I just always wondered where that tipping point was for when it becomes about the money. Is it when they go public and they get shareholders and all that kind of stuff? Who knows? But one thing I can guarantee across our brands is that we will never, ever, ever compromise on service, because like I say, that's what's made us, you know, that's what we're known for. We've got over 300 Google reviews. We've got about 50 Trustpilot reviews. And it, you know, the overarching theme of them all is service and or personality and the way we act with our customers, whether that's at events or online and I think that if we ever lose that, we'll lose my core values. And, you know, it's not just about me, this business, but my core values are that, you know, to be honest, to be accountable, to be responsible. And as a business, we will absolutely always make sure that it's buzz at the moment, isn't it? But that's our North Star, you know, and it really is. So now I'm going to go into, I've got quite a few questions that came in about CrossFit, like people think I'm some kind of authority on it. I'll take that as a compliment. Obviously never seen me move if that's what they think. But I'm just going to fly through these CrossFit questions. So someone asked, what, in terms of open standards and judging at a local level, where's the line between, being harsh, no repping and not. And for me, obviously I can only speak for me. I think the line is, if somebody's signed up to the CrossFit Open and you are judging them in order to verify their score, then I believe you have an obligation to hold them to the standard. That's what CrossFit is about. It's about us upholding standards that no one else has in the fitness industry and then being proud of those. So I think the line is, the moment somebody decides that they are entering a competition with standards, then they should uphold them. End of. And it's as simple as that for me. If you are maybe part of a box that's got an inter-box competition on and someone's trying the best and not quite hitting the standards, I would have a completely different answer, because I think that we should provide leeway if someone's getting stuck in. But then I would also say, why the fuck are they doing open if they're not signed up for it? So yeah, I think the moment someone enters a competition, whatever that competition is, and whoever that person is, you should uphold the standards of that competition. And that's as simple as that for me on that. A couple of people asked about what my thoughts were on 26.1 being what you could potentially consider appealing to Hyroxers. And I asked that to Elliot last night. I wondered if Dave Castro had maybe put something in that made Hyroxers that will say they're not doing CrossFit even though they are, do CrossFit. And I think it's an interesting, I guess we'll never know. But I would like to think, and this had been me, if I am in CrossFit marketing or Dave or CEO, even though there's a new one coming, of course, why wouldn't you put something in that can appeal to the masses? And I know they normally do that in the open week one. It generally tends to be a relatively simple, low skill, capacity based workout. But even the last two, where it's been a dumbbell clean and jerk and a dumbbell snatch, a Hyrox is going to look at a dumbbell and probably shit the fucking pants, aren't they? Let's face it. So I think just making it the box and the war ball is way more appealing. So maybe it is that. Maybe that was the plan. And if it was, I think it's genius, because why wouldn't you? Because any Hyroxer, eventually you would assume, this is just my assumption, but because it is the same workout time and time again, you will reach a limit with Hyrox where you've probably, got as good as you can get at that particular workout, because it is just a workout. And then if by nature you are competitive and you do like fitness and you want to push yourself, you need the next thing. So if this was intentionally done with a sort of nod to Hyrox, then I think it's brilliant, because it could potentially get Hyroxers to come in, because they'll all sign up for week one where they can kill it. And then they'll all get destroyed next week when something comes up other than a Hyrox movement. And then the ones that have the right mindset and mentality will think, right, I'm shit at that, I want to get better at it, and join a CrossFit gym, in my opinion. And then the ones that didn't like it because it made them feel uncomfortable because they weren't very good at something, they'll just fuck off back to Hyrox and be bored for the rest of their life. And that's up to them and that's their choice. But yeah, I do think that if it was done intentionally, I think it's brilliant. I've got a question on who should be programming, Castro or Bosman. Now, my theory on programming, obviously, I don't need to caveat this with I'm not a coach. I think it's pretty fucking obvious. But I'm going to take a step back from the actual intricacies of programming and give my opinion on programming as a whole, is that you will always find a reason to shit on programming, whether it's Dave Castro, whether it's Bosman, whoever it may be, whether it's someone programming a local comp. It is very easy to stand there and say that was shit because of X, Y, and Z. Now, the reason I think that's nonsense is because every training program has a different idea of what good programming looks like. That's why they have individual training camps. That's why they bias certain things. That's why some camps will provide workouts monthly, weekly. Some will do it daily, as Tom Kingdon told me, which blew my mind. So everybody, even the best of the best of the best, have a different idea of what programming looks like. So to look at somebody's programming on paper and say that shit, such and such should do it, I think it's just misguided, because you can't really say that, I don't know, you can't really say that something's shit without providing a perfect alternative. Otherwise, you're just almost throwing shade to throw shade. And to further add to that, people are saying Dave Castro's washed. He's been doing it too long and all this. But if you look at the evolution of the CrossFit Games and the workouts in the CrossFit Games, They're completely different. So Dave isn't programming the same stuff he programmed back in 2008, 2009 that he's programming now. So to say that he's washed is a bit strange. I get if someone's repetitively programming the same shit, maybe there's an argument to say, God, he's out of ideas. But he's doing different stuff. And he can't win because when he programs pure CrossFit like he did in Albany, oh, it's boring, didn't go outside. When he goes outside, oh, it's too dangerous. So I feel like when all we're doing is trying to pick fault, we'll always be able to pick fault. So I don't think it matters who programs. Someone's always going to have a problem with it and someone's always going to like it. And what I would say is, if you look at it purely at the CrossFit Games, over the last however long that I've been aware of CrossFit, which is from probably the back end of Fronin, is there anybody that, yeah, this is what I will say on this. So on programming, all we want to say is this programming shit, that program shit, this programming shit, that programming shit. But in the entirety of the CrossFit Games, could anybody argue that the person that's won the CrossFit Games shouldn't have won and weren't the fittest? I'd love someone to tell me differently, but I just think that's untrue. So therefore, the programming must have been okay and non-biased, as you might, for want of a better expression, because the fittest person always won. Now, the only argument that I've heard made for the fittest person in the world not being the fittest person in the world is when James Sprague won. But no one was saying, or no one with a brain was saying, that James Sprague won because of the programming. They were saying that it wasn't a real win because it wasn't an entire test because 2 workouts didn't get completed. So therefore, at any point, can you argue that the CrossFit Games champion wasn't the fittest on earth? And I think the answer is no. So therefore, I don't think there's a problem with the programming. The only time you can make a realistic case for there being a problem with the programming is if it's completely biased in a certain way and someone wins that you could definitely make a legitimate case for not being the fittest. And that's what I'll say on programming. My 26.2 prediction or want. Well, predictions are futile, as we know. But if it was me and I was picking a workout, it would be some form of triplet with dumbbell snatch, burpees either over the dumbbell and a rower. So burpees over the rower, over the dumbbell, don't mind. Be a triplet, maybe a long one as well, some kind of 20-minute AMRAP, like a longer workout. So in terms of prediction, I have no idea. So I'm not even going to try. Someone asked, what is CrossFit's equivalent of skipping leg day? So one of my mates who is a bit of a bodybuilder, I brought him to Project once, and after he always calls me a fanny for doing CrossFit. He's one of the CrossFit haters, but does it in a fun way. So I took him to a class once. He did 3 wall balls and almost died. I gave him a good hide in there. But he said, what is the CrossFit equivalent of skipping leg day? Now, I don't know, because I guess, do we call cherry picking? Is that like skipping leg day? So that's definitely me. But one of the most common movements I see people try to avoid in CrossFit is running. It's always like, my legs hurting, I'll jump on C2 bike, or this, that, and the other, I can't run. And one of the great things at the project for me is one of the subs for running is sometimes burpees. So it'd be like, I think it's 15 burpees for 200 maybe. So like something like that. And the dramatic or miraculous recovery people make when their alternative to running is burpees, same when it's echo bike. It's like, then when you see that nutter on stage at a sort of some weird sort of religious thing where he can heal people with his hand, he just touches them and then they like can see again and all that. That is what it's like when you say to someone's like, I can't run today, my back's a bit sore, my leg hurts. Right, 15 burpees instead. You know what? I think I'm cured. Like, pathetic. Either take the hit or do your burpees. So yeah, that would be my CrossFit equivalent of skipping leg day. Will CrossFit get bigger than High Rocks again? Now, there is no High Rocks without CrossFit, so it depends how you think about that, doesn't it? I think in terms of how High Rocks is structured and set up and participated in, you can't argue that that is always going to be bigger just because of the nature of the competitions. But what's the metric? So how are we determining bigger? You know, CrossFit's definitely a more recognized, I would say a more recognized brand, because you wouldn't know what Hyrox was. Hyrox was based on CrossFit, as we all know. And also, if you look, you might think because you can't get a ticket to Hyrox London because they've had 5,000 people through, or however many it is that weekend, that it's more participated in than CrossFit. But how many Hyrox events are there in the UK? Say there's 4 in a year. Okay, and each one of them gets, argue, 7,000, 8,000 people through, say 10,000. So that's 40,000 people that do Hyrox. There is, if you look up and down Team Aritas competition corner, even local throwdowns that people aren't even potentially advertising because they're in-house box competitions. How many people are doing CrossFit competitions? How many people are doing CrossFit daily? So depending on what your metric is, you know, Hyrox looks big because it's condensed. Everything happens all together, mass of people in one location. It's all over socials. The media is great. Bang. But how many people do CrossFit? You know, there's, what is there, 500, 600 affiliates in the UK? I think the average member base is 120. So say 50 people a day from each affiliate do CrossFit. Come on, let's do some quick maths. 3,000 is that? 50 times 30,000. So if out of those 600 CrossFit affiliates in the UK, just 50 people attended, you know, I know like Project probably getting 150. But just say 50 as a conservative effort, 50 people at every CrossFit affiliate in the UK do CrossFit. That is 30,000 people a day doing a CrossFit class. So what is the metric for suggesting that Hyrox is bigger than CrossFit? Because any of those Hyroxers that go and train, they do a Hyrox and they'll predominantly train in a CrossFit gym probably, or another gym. They're not doing Hyrox then as such, are they? They're not doing an official Hyrox class. So I guess we'd need to look at the parameters of what we're determining big to mean in terms of whether CrossFit will get bigger than Hyrox again, because I think it already is and it always will be. Will Hyrox phase out? That was another question. Similar to what I said before, I think most people that always want more will reach a ceiling with it because there's only so much you can do. So I think eventually I don't know if it'll phase out. I think the people doing it will just change. I think there'll be a conveyor belt of people, because if you look at the amount of people going through, you know, people want somewhere to go and test themselves. What I think the ceiling is once you've done 4, 5, 6, 7 Hyroxes, what are you keeping going back for? You know, is there a pull to taking 5 seconds off your time when you've already got a sub hour, for example? I don't know. You know, sub hour is a big goal for Hyroxers. If you break sub hour, have you got the same intensity, same sort of appetite to go and do a 59-minute Hyrox? I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but I feel like it has a ceiling for the individual, but overall, there'll always be more people wanting to participate in and do it. Athletes on no reps getting upset. So, yeah, Stace asked about what my thoughts are on athletes getting upset when getting called out on no reps. And it's what I talked about at the start. Lack of personal accountability, lack of responsibility. If you get mad at someone for enforcing a standard that you haven't met, you will always fail at everything you do in life. Simple as that. You are not hitting the standard. And whether this is CrossFit, Hyrox, life, if there is a standard and you don't hit it and you look at anyone except yourself, you will ultimately fail eventually, because you have to own what you're doing. If you fail a rep, it's your fault. If you fuck up a piece of work, it's your fault. If I send the wrong order to someone, it's my fault. If you don't take responsibility, how do you ever get better? So if you're an athlete at any level and you are not hitting a standard and you are mad at your judge, you are a fucking moron. Simple as that. Okay, so then the bits that weren't totally CrossFit related. I guess this is a similar one. So why won't people no rep someone when they're judging? And I guess that's it's kind of similar to the accountability and responsibility point. But for me, it's the fact that people in life in general avoid difficult conversations, don't they? They don't want to feel uncomfortable by doing the right thing or being honest or having to have an argument or how that person might react. And I think that's a massive problem within society at the moment, along with the accountability and responsibility piece, which I always bang on about. It's that people are scared of having difficult conversations. And when you don't have open and honest dialogue, bad things happen. Like, I don't mean to like bring up, what the events that happened with Charlie Kirk. He liked to have open dialogue and got killed for it, basically, by people that want to shut dialogue down. And whether that's a difficult conversation that leads to no rep, or whether it's a difficult conversation with your partner, or if it's a difficult conversation at work, you will always be better for having it, even if the outcome isn't what you wanted it to be. Say you're avoiding a difficult conversation you're in a relationship with someone, you're avoiding a difficult conversation with them. Your relationship will eventually get worse, potentially break up, by not having a difficult conversation in the moment, because small things become big things the longer the sort of maybe ignored or not allowed to come to the surface. And I think if everybody, the moment they felt something, thought something, or wanted something, had the fortitude to actually address it, then I think everything gets better. And it's back to that honesty piece, isn't it? It's you're lying to yourself, and whenever you lie to yourself, your psyche's not quite right. You're not settled, because you know the truth about something, don't you? You can lie to everyone as much as you want, but you can never lie to yourself. You can tell yourself a pretty story, you can make an excuse, but deep down it never sits right, does it? Because you always know. And I think that's part of it. Part of having, it's a skill to have difficult conversations. Like an example, like for us at the Defiant Co. is when we in Defiant Print, we outsourced a lot of our stuff until very recently. And instead of just never speaking to the suppliers, I rang people that we'd used in the past individually and said, look, this is what I'm doing. I know I used to use you for X, Y, and Z, but now I'm going to be doing it myself. Thank you for your help, and there'll still be stuff coming your way when we need support, and blah, 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 blah. And they were blown away, both of them. So now I still have good working professional relationships with those people, and we both of them have helped me out, and I've helped them out since then. Whereas if I didn't have that conversation, which, some people would say is a difficult conversation, I wouldn't have that relationship. And why? Because I didn't want to make myself feel uncomfortable by being honest. And one of them in particular was blown away. He was like, I can't believe you said it. Most people just ghost. And I'm like, well, you've got to hold yourself to the standard that you expect, haven't you? And if you don't, then you just completely set up for failure. So that was a long-winded answer to why won't people no rep people? It's because they're afraid of having a difficult conversation. That's my take on it anyway. Would you rather, do a marathon of burpee broad jumps, a marathon of walking lunges, or 26,000 wall balls? I'm not sure how. Well, definitely not 26,000 fucking wall balls. I would say a marathon burpee broad jump, and that's not just through any sort of misguided thoughts of being a burpee king. I just think that walking lunges would just be terrible, and I'm shit at lunging. Having done the impossible mile, burpee broad jumps are way better than walking lunges for me. So I would say that, but I'd very much not like to do that at all. Right. Someone asked, what are bodybuilders? Why do bodybuilders beef with CrossFitters? And I think for me, that is what bodybuilders can't accept, is that they're very strong, but if you did it for reps, the CrossFitter would beat you. I don't think they like that, because they're supposed to be the big, strong ones. So that's my take on that. They're shit on CrossFit because, well, they try to, but they can't get the words out as easily, can they? Because they're only breathing a bit too heavy. And so, yeah, I think that's what that is. No idea why. Why does anyone have beef with anyone? I think the answer to that question, most people have beef with someone or want to shit on someone because of an inferiority complex that they have. You know, like, to the point, I would say, like, it's okay to dislike someone because there's pricks about. You know, we all dislike a prick. But what I would say is, like, you know, if you violently hate or dislike someone, that always says more about you than the person, in my opinion. Okay, so what we got next? Oh, so my sister, actually, she sent this. She said, when I was a kid, not just when I was a kid, Sam, I used to play songs on repeat that I really liked. And to the point where it used to make her sick of them and she didn't like the song. She, for some reason, used Westlife as an example. I can't imagine me ever listening to Flying Without Wings on repeat for 4 hours at a time. Good song. But what she asked was, do you think that artists get sick of singing their greatest hits? So, like, she gave the example of Oasis. Everyone's like, sing Wonderwall. And I don't know. I feel like, you know, if you made your career on something, I feel like it'd be really bad form, wouldn't it? To, you know, for Oasis to be like, oh, we're not fucking singing Wonderwall. Like, would they be where they are now if it wasn't for that song? So, you know, surely it's a badge of honor. Every time they sing that, they must think, fuck me, this put us on the map. You know what I mean? Like, just as an example, I guess. But, and I think, I don't know. I remember Arctic Monkeys once going through a bit of a phase where they used to get pissed off when people asked them for Dance Floor. But again, they were the first #1 hit. No one would even know the fuck they were if it weren't for that song. So don't get bigger than the people that made you. And again, it's that thing what I talked about earlier about service. Always remember why you started and what drove you to start and why you wanted to do it. And then, you know, take stock of what happened along the way in order for you to get there. And then you'll be appreciative and you'll always hold that close. And I think that's the same with things like that. If you're any form of artist that made it through a particular song, or, you know, even if you're an artist that paints and you made it through a particular drawing, like, you know, you could never get sick of looking at that drawing, surely, because it's what made you. So I think art in any form, if it makes you, is something that you should always hold dear. Be interesting, though. Right, what else we got? We've got a few defiant questions. Oh, there's one. So Helen Shields asked some good questions. Mental wall. How do you overcome it when you have a mental wall? And she used my phrase, how do you stop being a fanny? Because that's one of the things I like to say. Well, you know, I've got a real example of this. Like on Friday, I think I've talked about it a couple of times on the shows. I was a complete fucking fanny in that 26.1. I just couldn't, for the first time in as long as I can remember in a workout, I couldn't talk myself out of the sob story I was telling myself about how shit I was. So I think that I'm like, it didn't work for me on Friday, but as a rule, what I generally tend to do is just punish myself for having weak thoughts. I'm talking purely in a workout capacity. Like, I referenced Goggins. I remember hearing him say once that if he wanted to quit, he would do more work, and he called it callousing his mind, so that if he did ever decide to quit, he'd be punished for it. So I've done it before when I'm on the C2 bike and I'm just working out on my own. I'll be like, because that's only me versus me, no one knows I'm doing it. So if I'm in a point of a workout where I'm 6 rounds in, I'm supposed to be doing 8, and any thought in my mind creeps in and says, just quit, no one will know, I'll do 10 rounds or 12. And it's like, and that worked for me massively in terms of mindset, because then you're like, you stop having those weak thoughts. And then when you start to control the weak thoughts that you have, it's quite a big endorphin hit when it's just you versus you and you make the hard decision. I find that really fucking rewarding after the fact. Evening, sir.
Bonjour. How are you?
Very well, mate. Very well. That was really good timing, because I've about done as well on my question. So you've come in just at the right time to save the show.
Fantastic. Your saviour's here.
How was the birthday celebrations?
Yeah, good. Lots of fun and things we don't normally do in the week. But yeah, all good, all fun. He's had a nice time. He's 7, the big 7. So yeah, all
That's
fun.
significant age.
Weird looking at pictures of them growing up, and like there's a year where he went from being a like a baby to like a human. It's just odd. That's all. But yeah, all fun. Thank you. I liked what you were talking about just then, because that means totally different things to different people. So a baker might challenge themselves to do like 20 buns a minute, whereas someone in the gym sees that hard work as like doing extra reps or rounds. Like that mentality looks completely different to different people. And you referenced Goggins. The thing that he's had to adapt and change over the years is what he had to put the message out there initially, but he's changed his wording quite a lot and over the years, and he frames it differently now. That effort and that hardcore effort looks different for different people, and it might be that one day simply getting your shoes on and going for a walk might require all of your effort. But another day, it might be doing 20 rounds instead of 19 of Cindy. So as long as you've got that internal gauge that's just for you. See, and this is the thing that a lot of people struggle with, like the Open. I say this with no irony, no cliche, no excuses. I do it for me. I do it to know that I have pushed as much as I could on the day, which is also why I'm a one and done person. Because if I allow myself the idea of a repeat, I won't go hard enough the first time. So I know that I will put everything into it first time, because I leave nothing out there for a repeat. And that works in my head. And you know what you were saying about like, I came in when you were saying about it of like, if I feel like I'm being a wuss or whatever, I'll add another round on. So I've got this rule in my head. If ever I come up with an idea in my head in the gym and I think about it, I have to do it. I can't not do it. And to this day, so bearing in mind I started in 2012, I have never quit a workout in CrossFit, ever. I've never walked out. I've never stopped the timer early. I've never walked away. I've never done any of that. I've always finished the workouts.
But you can always finish them, can't you? That's the thing. You might not get, sometimes it's just about finishing it. You might not get the score that you wanted on that day. You might not like hit the intensity you wanted, but just finishing it is the win on that occasion, isn't it?
100%. And this is the miscommunication early years that Goggins had with his message. It was people thought you had to do fucking ultra marathons to match his effort levels. It's just the effort is perceived RPE. So if everyone is working at the same RPE, when you're briefing a class, if you've nailed the whiteboard briefing and everyone understands the RPE, the stimulus, the intent of the workout, you can kind of relax a little bit in knowing that everyone kind of understands what they should be doing. And hopefully with some decent coaching and some good music, you'll see them getting it. But yeah, it's all fun. It's all a learning curve.
The thing I took from Goggins, though, even when I first discovered it, it was more the bit about, and I talked about it like a bit earlier on in the show, you know, that phrase when he talked about not wanting to be on his deathbed as an old man and looking back and thinking I could have been great. Yeah. So that stuck with me so much. It like literally almost, I go as far as to say changed my entire life, just that simple phrase, because I'd always sort of probably dodged. I'd never fulfilled my potential, whatever it was. I'd always done enough to get by. And that was something that made me knuckle down and really try and work hard in everything.
The other thing to do is the nature of CrossFit is the idea of being generalists appeals to us. So we like to try everything. We're jack of all trades, master of none. And by that very declaration, it means we're never going to specialize in anything, and we're never going to excel in one particular thing. This is generally, obviously, but generally CrossFitters fall into that category of generalists, you know, jack of all trades. I reckon if you go to a CrossFitter's house, everything's sort of done to a similar degree all around the house, like the cleaning, the tidying up, the decorations, the cars are parked, the windows are all shut, the heating's done at a certain level. Everything's sort of done at a generalist sort of level. But it's funny, really, isn't it? How, like, someone said to me the other day about like levels of ADHD. If you were to, it was Abby actually, if you were to take a sample pool out of like CrossFit compared to the general public, not only would we be infinitely like more people healthy and living longer, like longevity wise, than general public, but there would be a very bigger number of people with ADHD.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
What is it? But what is ADHD though? Like, is that not just something we coined to
it's
label people with a lot of energy? You know what I mean? Or because
when you know proper clinical ADHD, it's very apparent when you know someone with actual ADHD, you know the difference between like the false, like the people that just use screen time and sugar a bit too much.
Yeah. But what I mean though is, but in the context of what you just said, similar to when we talked about OCD the other week.
Yeah.
The general, the real clinical examples of that are totally different. But then the example you just used about the ADHD, we're saying it is in a CrossFit box. There's no one with clinical ADHD at my CrossFit box, but there's plenty of people that people might say he's got ADHD. You know what I mean? That's all I mean.
Yeah. I know what you mean. But I would. Without you obviously don't do this, but if you sent an email out, an anonymous email to all of the members at Project and said, are you on any medication or seeing a clinician for ADHD? I reckon you'd have a few that you didn't have a clue. Some of them might be medicated. Some of them might be on stuff to make them focus. But again, I'm talking generally here. I think more people, because of that, like, lack of attention and that executive function, like those people that like they go to the petrol station, they're like, say, right, I'm going out to petrol station, and then on the way to petrol station they'll see a dog they like, so they'll pull over, and then they'll start talking to someone, and then they'll realize their music was left on, and then they'll and then they'll drive home, and their wife will go, how much was the fuel? And they're like, oh, I didn't go. Like, that executive function is, and I'm so, I never liked this as an excuse for most people, being late, not being able to organize their day. Like, there's so many ways to do it now. But when you come across someone with genuine executive or lack of executive function, it's like watching a squirrel, and it's well apparent. Like, really apparent. And then they have all the hallmarks, so they're really apologetic after, they go into themselves, they're isolated, they can't keep friends for very long, they flip between groups. There's all these hallmark traits of people that genuinely have this disorder. But I totally agree with you. I think probably 1 in 10 of people that say they have it actually have it. Because it is so apparent when you, like I said, when you've hung around or see someone that you know with it, or they come off their medication, you see it's real. But again, like I said, 9 out of 10 people probably just say it because they have too much sugar, they want an excuse to be shit, and they're late and they just can't be bothered. But yeah, real people with real ADHD, that's a hard life.
Especially now, I guess, in the world we live in, with the amount of distractions there actually are, because like you said, we all fall foul of it. You know, I have to go on my phone regularly throughout the day, you know, for work, DMs, all that kind of stuff. And if my personal Instagram happens to be the page that's open when I click Instagram, 10 minutes later, I'm like, what the fuck did I open my phone for? And and I'm pretty good at focusing, and we all fall victim to it, don't we? It's crazy.
Well, there's actual, like, there's a test you can do, really, is give that person high doses of caffeine. And people with genuine ADHD that have the clinical, like, neurological differences, they will fall asleep. Like, people with ADHD, they fall asleep because their brain noise just switches off and they just doze away and they get more tired from caffeine. Whereas Whereas most people will have caffeine and they'll be wired and it'll be like that. But that's why they have Ritalin and Adderall. Like, it helps them focus because their brains. The easiest way that I've heard someone say to describe it, you know, those pens you used to have a kid when there's like 10 different colors.
Hey, mate.
Yeah, there you go. Right, one of them. That's from Tesco's. So, is that a Bic?
No, it's from the Entrepreneur Circle.
Entrepreneur.
It's the business group I'm a part of.
Very nice. People with like actual genuine ADHD, it's as if they've got that pen and they're trying to push down they're trying to write something and they're trying to push down all of the pens at the same time and they can't get anything done. But we all have that to a degree. I think we all have that lack of focus sometimes. And so if you were to say you've got the hallmark traits of ADHD, clinical, I think generally speaking, all right, let's just say sport then rather than CrossFit. If you said sport and people that don't do sport, more people that have ADHD will be doing some kind of sport than not doing sport. And they probably haven't stuck to one particular sport for a long time.
Yeah, what I was going to say though, because what I was going to flip that on was that, you know, the people that reach the very top of sport because of the focus you need in order to do that, I bet then it starts to wean out a little bit. Yeah,
they don't stick to stuff for very long. And this is why I think CrossFit gives them an opportunity because you're never bored doing CrossFit. Yeah. It's constantly varied. And it sort of harbors that, but yeah, all good. Did you have any top questions that you answered? What was the best and what was the best question you got?
Someone asked me about programming, and I just basically said that everyone just takes the piss out of programming, whoever programs. So I don't think it matters who does it, whether it's Castro, Bosman, whoever, because someone will always find a fault in it. And I find that conversation that people continuously have about who's the best programmer, when there are all these amazing trainers and programming camps across the world, and they all do it different. So there's no right answer. So shut up about programming. That was one. Yeah. One was what keeps you coming back for more every single day? So I'm going to ask you that.
What keeps you coming back for more? The alternative.
What's that? Not coming back for more?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess when you put it like that.
Like, I can't not come back for more. So the only logical answer there is that I have to come back for more.
I'll answer this one then, because this was a good one. It's my mate. He goes to the Globo gym, doesn't do CrossFit. He said, he always skips leg day. What's the CrossFit equivalent of skipping leg day?
There's a few, but if you were at a gym that published their programming, I'm assuming, because that would imply with leg day, you know that you're supposed to do it, but then you miss it. So with programming, if you just show up at the gym and you don't know what it is, I would say cherry picking of workouts, and I would probably say it's a toss up between 2K row and Fran.
Oh, for an actual workout that people chin. Okay.
Yeah. I think yeah. Sorry.
Go on, mate.
Because if you're thinking of CrossFit, equivalent, in my head, I think pure CrossFit. Yeah.
I said the same as you. I said cherry picking, which I'm renowned for.
Yeah.
But I also said that the thing that I see people try and skip the most within a workout is running. There's always some people. Oh, I can't run. Can I C2 back?
The addition of the C2, but I call it the cheap bike because.
Hey mate, I've filled my sending on that this morning. You be careful.
Yeah. But as an equivalent, if someone says I can't run, can I use the bike? I say you can use the Echo bike. You're not using the C2 bike, because on a run, for me, the bit that I get most fatigued when I'm running is my upper body. My legs don't get fatigued when I'm running. It is my upper body, because you're using the upper body. The C2 bike has literally no momentum in the upper body whatsoever. And I get the compounding effect of your legs being used, but you've got to somehow, that's why the rower as a substitute was always the done thing. You know, you can't run. All right, what we're going to do, we're going to figure out burpees per 400 then. Right. So you're going to do 20 burpees for every 400 meters.
Healed.
Yeah. Oh, my late Jesus has visited. I'm fine again. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what Elliot did at the project. He made the C2 bike conversion way more aggressive than the other one. So like a 400 run would be a 500 row or ski.
Yeah.
It'd be a 30 cal echo, but it'd be like a 1200 C2 bike. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it'd take you just longer. So if you cared about your score, you'd not want it.
Yeah.
But
They're the people that will give a shit about the time or the score. The people that are just drifters that have come in just for a laugh and they can't bother to run. Like, they're not, either way, whatever you give them, they're not gonna. But if you give them a burpee, drifters hate burpees.
Good. In fact, I've got another question for you then, mate. You know, when we were talking in the other continuum chat the other day about intensity versus volume and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You know the point I made of you everyday box goer that does just want to get a sweat on can't be. So it's not a coaching capacity thing for me. It's a coach or an owner making sure his members, which pay the bills, as a rule, get the best bang for their buck in order to keep them coming back. Where is the sort of line between staying true to the methodology and making sure you can pay the bills by, like Gareth said, he thinks a good coach should be able to coach intensity. I think these coaches can coach intensity, but if I turn up, you know, I'm just everyday Steve that likes to work in the office, and I get a 2K row, and I just feel like I've had 8 minutes of work and then gone to sit on my ass all day, does that appeal to me? Where do you stand on that?
So this is the question we've been asking ourselves for the last 6 years as a brand, as a group of gyms. There's no clear defined answer. It's multifaceted, and each individual, I know it's a cop out, but each individual gym has to make their own mind up for this. Here's the truth of the matter, and it's the same thing that you've getting affiliates that wish or de-affiliated gyms clawing back towards CrossFit. You think catering for new members and retention by giving people what they want is the answer. It's like giving your kids sweets all the time. They might say, "Oh yeah, you're the best daddy in the world," but in a year's time or 10 years' time, they will resent you for it, and you will hate yourself for it. When you are a CrossFit gym, you are supposed to know that volume isn't the right way about going stuff. You're supposed to know that. That's all in the literature, and we know it's not. It's about the intensity. So it is a little bit about the way that we brief and we educate our members about why we do certain things the way that we do. But also, then you look on top of that, and this is where, and I had a few arguments about this about a couple of years ago with people, predominantly in America, and I know now that we're a very different market for it, but the High Rocks sessions and the High Rocks classes that a lot of UK affiliates have added offer the people that are just coming in for a sweat. It gives them an option, an opportunity to do that kind of training. Now, my position on that is fine. You're going to attract a new audience, but you cannot, for the love of whoever you believe in, dilute CrossFit down and give the masses what they want because it makes them feel better about themselves because they'll sweat more. Like, we need to do more in terms of educate members that getting sweaty does not equal good. We're being kind. We're not being nice. Like, to be kind to someone is to educate them on why a 5x5 back squat should destroy you. You shouldn't be walking the next day. You know how everyone's moaning about the 0.1 last week?
Yeah.
If you get a 5x5 nailed, that's what it should be like for the few days afterwards. And the idea that people come in and go, is that it? But I understand early days that you're not necessarily going to get that from people because they're learning. Now, all I do when it's like that is add in a superset. So, or between sets, you can sit on the echo for a couple of minutes and go at a certain wattage pace just to keep ticking over. But I need you to focus on that squat give them squat therapy. If they're not going low enough, give them a target to go to. Give them things to think about. Give them that education that makes them realize that you want them to get better. You don't just want to make them feel good in the gym. Because I'll be honest, like, we shouldn't be making members feel really good about themselves when they're working out. Like, they should feel really good about themselves when they walk out of the gym, not when they're doing the work. When you're doing the work, you shouldn't necessarily feel that great.
No.
So if they're like, yeah, and the cameras are all around and they're dancing around the Echo bike and chatting and, like, you know, Jen's journey to 5K, it's like, yeah, all right, but like, fuck me, like, go heavier. Like, but that comes down to the coaching staff and our ability to. So it's not an easy answer. It's not one size fits all. But what we do have that is one size fits all is this thing. Where are we? This thing, and what that stands for and what it means. It's constantly varied functional fitness performed at high intensity. It's not about volume. And we know that. And it's an addition to, it's not instead of. So yeah, no, just what it is. CrossFat's in the house. CrossFat, who is very, very, very experienced. You did find us. You found us. Subscribe.
Why was he struggling to find us?
Yeah, it's just one of those things. But now that CrossFat's found us, everyone will find us. CrossFat's a big deal.
It's a big deal. I don't know what he does for a living, or she. Because he's on every single podcast I ever go on.
Yeah, they're.
But then again, I guess I could say, what the fuck am I doing for a living? Because I'm on the same podcast, seeing the same comments. So I guess it works.
Yeah, exactly.
Ways, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's like my mum got in trouble at school once because she put her hand up after they were doing prayers, and she said, "Miss," I can't remember the person's name, but Miss Jenny had her eyes open in prayer. It's like, how did you know? Yeah, it's good. I like that. Glass houses. People in glass houses shouldn't get dressed, shouldn't walk around naked.
Unless they want to be seen.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm moving out of my house today, mate.
You moved out of your house?
No, I am. This is the last podcast I'll do in front of this glorious map.
Wow. Is that one where you, is it like a scratchy map, that one?
No, you stick pins in where you've been.
Ah, that's cool.
Yeah, I was going to go move to office with me, but yeah, my last day.
You know what I saw? Sorry, you carry on.
I said earlier, but I was on my own. Like, I'm weirdly sentimental about odd things, and like, I've gone on a significant life journey since I moved into this house. You know, the person that moved in is poles apart from the person that's moving out. And I had a moment earlier where I was just reflecting on it, and it was like quite an emotional experience to think that, because obviously it's not just the house. But I've spent a lot of time on my own in this house, finding myself in a bizarre way. So it's just, to think that that's it now. It's weird. And also, get this is pretty cool. This house is built on an old church.
Right.
And the church which it's built on is where my mum and dad got married.
Really?
And my granddad and my great grandma had their funerals here as well.
Wow.
That's pretty cool, isn't it? Just don't
that is a very good point. The whole glass house like metaphor needs exploring further. People in glass houses can't hide from their neighbors. So here's a question then. So you said you've changed and you've metamorphosized since you've crawled in there a caterpillar and you're leaving a butterfly. You don't need to tell me and CrossFat exactly what it is that you feel like you've changed. But here's a question. If you, in 10 years, had a conversation with you now, what would you hope they've changed?
From who I am now to who I'll be in 10 years.
How do you hope you'll change in that time?
You know what? I don't want this is hard to answer. But the change I've made in the period of time from moving into this house to now has maybe set me on a path and a way of thinking and a way of being that I don't really want to change anymore. Because one of the biggest things that I maybe struggled with without even knowing I was struggling with was getting in my own way, thinking I knew it all, not wanting to seek help, not wanting to seek advice, not wanting to learn from other people, thinking that I had all the answers. And the journey I've gone on from that point to now is understanding that I actually know fuck all. And I don't know, was it Socrates or someone like that said, the less I know, the more, the only true knowledge is in knowing nothing, knowing that you know nothing. So I want to just make sure that however we go with the business, and I'm hoping it's going to become successful, that I remember that, the better I get, the more sort of malleable I need to be in terms of learning and things like that. And if I hold what I believe to be true now into the next 10 years, I hope I don't change, because I don't know unless there's a level up from that, but I'm not talking about levels in terms of capacity, skill, ability. I'm talking about levels in terms of knowing that I can always learn and I can always get better. And if I can hold those values and those, thoughts with me throughout the next 10 years, I think I don't really want to change, if you know what I mean.
Is there anything you miss from being 10 years ago?
No, because even the hard times now, I talked about it right at the start. I've had a real tough period, I would say. But even those it's been hard because I wanted it to be hard. So maybe I didn't want it to be hard, but I wanted the results that the hard work or the changes would bring. So if you want those things bad enough, I feel like you have to be capable of taking every hit along the way. So yeah, who I was when I moved into this house was someone that had an eye on responsibility, did CrossFit, but maybe didn't have, I worked pretty hard, but maybe without much direction. If someone gave me an out, I'd probably take it. To the person now, whereas I want the work, I want to be better, I want to take responsibility, I want to be accountable. I'm more into CrossFit in terms of, when I think of CrossFit, I don't just think about working out. I think about the entire feeling it gives you, meeting people like you, like Yanni, like Stephen, like Elliot, like Jamie at Method, all these great people that have got so much to give you and learn and teach, and being part of that community. It's like, when you're in a position where you think you know everything, you're not able to meet those people and take from them what you can and give as much as you take, and all that kind of good stuff.
What do you think you add to all those people?
I think I do the same. I think it's just, I think that group, when you talk about it, whoever that group is and wherever you are in the world doing CrossFit with your own group, I think the thing's the same. Everybody just wants everybody else to get better, regardless of what that means for them. And then by default, you get better because you care about other people getting better, rather than, push, scrape, pinch, beg, steal, borrow to make yourself better at the expense of others. You want the others to get better and they bring you up. And I said to Tori once, I was talking about, when you have a circle and the power of your circle, and people talk about it. And I think the power of the circle for me stems from wanting the people rather than being able to learn from these great people, you want them to think that you're doing well, or that you're valuable, or that you have something to offer, because you respect them so much. Otherwise they wouldn't be in your circle. Knowing that they respect you gives you more of a boost than anything. And it's sort of replicating them, because you want to not impress in a sort of bland way, but like in a sort of shallow way, but you want to work hard and be recognized within that circle for working hard. And it just makes you better in that way, having people that you respect around you. That I don't know if that's just a ramble, but I feel like that's much more prevalent in the CrossFit space, because of, I made the joke about it ages ago that, I've moved house 3 or 4 times in my life, and I've had more help since I've been doing CrossFit than ever before. And it's because everybody wants to help. Everyone wants you to get better, and everyone wants to get stuck in. And it's just that sort of.
Well, people, not one, it's self-inflicted. Like you learn that self-inflicted discomfort is the way that you grow, and prepare for inflicted discomfort. If I am willing to do this to myself, nothing you can do to me, I'm bulletproof. Like nothing you can do to me will change me. But as well, I think work ethic is addictive. Once you've tapped into that source of endorphins, of satisfaction, once you've tapped into that, it's really hard not only to break away from it yourself, but to hang around with people that don't also tap into that source. You look at people that don't tap into it and you're like, are you all right? Like I can't be around you anymore. Like you're not one of me. And do you know what one of the beautiful things about CrossFit gyms is, short of everyone wearing the same uniform, right? That, if let's say that's just illegal, but it's not a really done thing. If you've got 20 people in a workout together and you walked in, let's say you did a drop in, right? You're doing a drop in. Is it Glasgow this weekend you're going to, or Method? Sorry, Method. So you're going to work out at Method. Let's say I know you have, but let's say you've never been there before. You walk in, and what's the capacity for Jamie's class? Like 50 or something? But how many people?
I think it's like, because of prioritized coaching, I bet it's like 24, maybe, right, depending on the workout.
24 people in that gym you've never met. Mid-workout, there is not a fucking chance in hell you can guess which of those people earns the most amount of money, or you don't care. None of them care about who earns the most money in there, or who's got the nicest car, or who's got the most successful kid, or whatever the other metrics of comparison people use in day-to-day life on the high street, on fucking Facebook, all the showing off shit that people do all the time. If you've got your shorts and your vest on and your Metcons or Nanos or Rads, and you're in the middle of a 20-minute AMRAP and you're all working, everyone is on a level playing field. Yeah. Everyone, because no amount of money can buy that. Like, everyone is in there. And it is the most beautiful thing to witness when you walk into a gym and you've got 15-year-old that's just started doing sessions with the adults, and they're looking around like this, like they've never hung around with adults before, and now they're growing up. You've got the mum with her pram over in the corner. You've got the 65-year-old that's just come back from hip operation, and then everyone in between. And they're all there working out together, and they don't give a flying whatever about what John's job over there is, or that Janine is a new CEO of bloody this, that, and the other. Like, no one cares. It is amazing. Now tell me anywhere else on fucking earth that you get that, and then replicate that by 10,000, because that's the affiliates.
Yeah,
nowhere. We've got it. We're it. We are it. We are the last place on earth that you can genuinely go and play on a level playing field with everyone around you, and spend long enough in that arena, and all the shit that goes with being accoladed and like showing off how wealthy you are. All of that starts to trickle down and water away, because you realize it means nothing.
And those people don't stick it, do they? Anyway.
No. The people that you want around you are the people that don't give a shit about that kind of stuff. Because I heard, my mate told me about this years ago, and it's slightly contrary to what I've just said, but the essence of that is there, right? People are attracted, so men and women, people are attracted to wealth because of one thing. It's not the actual wealth itself. It's the work that's gone in to earning it. And at any given point, if you took that away, they could earn it back. And it comes from prehistoric. If you were even the 500 years ago in England, Charles I, right? If you were the top of the pile, which in this case is wealth, if you were the top of the pile, it mean that you had won your way there. You had fought your way there. and you can do it again. If all that money is if Alan Sugar had all his money taken away in 1990, by 2000 he would be a billionaire again, because he has the work capacity and ethic to do it, because he's proven it before, which is why there's a big difference in people that have been given money and people that have earned it money themselves.
Do
And
you think
you can't get given fitness?
No. And that's such a good way of putting that, because everyone because it's just in the gym you just admire everyone around you because of that. And when I see someone, especially when I see someone really, really fit now, I'm just in awe. You know, like, and I'm not even talking like games athletes. I'm talking about that guy in the gym that can do something that I can't even get close to. And I'm just like, God, because you know that it's only work that gets you there, isn't it? And
You can't blag it.
Yeah.
Try blagging a 300 kilo deadlift. You can't. Try blagging a muscle up. Yeah. You can't. Try blagging a 2-minute Fran time.
Fuck it up. I don't think I want it.
No, I know. But the thing is, here's the thing. The more you go to the more you go to CrossFit, the more workouts you do, the more you start to understand what they are doing at the elite level. It's like, how many people now watch the Olympics and watch the weightlifting because they're CrossFitters? And then they go, "What? He can lift what? Or she can lift what? At that body weight?" I know. Yeah. We understand more. Well, our capacity for understanding grows.
Yeah. I wonder if that's kind of like... Oh, I didn't know we had sound effects, mate.
Yeah.
Fucking hell, we are making it. We're there.
I got loads. I got gunshots. Hang on. I can't even hear them, so it doesn't matter. Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's the thing for me. It's like, that's probably what it's taught me most. Because I've always had a capacity for work when it's been something I've been interested in. But it wasn't until CrossFit that I found something that I was continuously interested in that made me work hard every day. And then that just bled out into every other area of my life. And then I started to take much more responsibility and accountability. And then as soon as you do that, that's when you become bulletproof, isn't it? When everything's your fault and you know you've got a innate ability to work as hard as anyone else, regardless of what that looks like in terms of what you get done, as long as you're giving all you can give, similar to what you said about during a workout, then you become literally bulletproof, because nobody can take it away from you. Nobody can, whatever they say, it's just, you're like Teflon, aren't you? It just slides straight off because you just don't give a shit.
It's like when you hear people getting offended all the time, or having little nee. It's like, fuck, like, who cares? Like, none of that matters. Like, all that me that you hear from John or bloody Sally or whoever, and they're like, you hear about the me. When you're in the middle of grace, and I mean the workout, right? That will not matter to you. Like, that really won't matter. Like, you are in a world of pain, and that shit just is irrelevant. And also, like you said earlier, if you're lying on your deathbed at 90, you're not going to be thinking about that time that you had that with what's his name or what's her name. It's like, who fucking cares? If you've got time to mince about skulking about some crossword that you've had with someone, like, come on, man. Like, it's like people on Facebook that are having arguments with each other. Have you had any of them recently?
I've engaged a bit less on socials because I do see it, because Facebook's the best place for it, because it's all your old schoolmates that are still doing the same things in the same places, having the same arguments with the same people, and it is entertaining. But
like I know they won't watch this, but my cousin's husband, like, every week it's something new. He's having this war against someone, and he doesn't talk to them. He writes about it on Facebook.
Pussy.
I'm like, mate, you're in your 40s.
Like, I think stuff like that, mate. The world goes to shit when people are incapable of having difficult conversations. If you'd rather make a post on Facebook than go to someone and address something, then you clearly don't really care about it, do you? You know what I mean? You're just doing it to vent, and it's
It's
I don't
just
know,
like
mate.
if people ever want to argue with me, right? Like me and my wife never fucking argue, and I know some people might say that that's like a bad sign, right? But 10 years later, we're doing well. Um, you know that couple that are always volatile, they're always arguing and then they make up. It's like, meh, 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 I can't be dealing with that. And the older I've got, the more it's been confirmed in my head. Like if people try to argue with me, whatever it is they want to argue about, I don't care enough. I'll be like, okay, cool, yeah, you're right, yeah, and then I walk away. Like, I cannot be bothered. Like if it's constructive, if it's a debate about something, if it's like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
constructive, if it's about the nuances between like thruster, like are you open palm or are you closed palm? I'll be like, wow, yeah, let's talk about this. Like, and if you disagree with me, I might want to hear what you say. But like, yeah, when you're arguing about fucking like bullshit, it's like, oh God,
But
go and do a
again,
workout.
that's back again though to that point I was making about knowing accepting nothing, isn't it? That's when it
Mm,
becomes a debate rather than an argument. It normally becomes an argument when someone's so attached to their belief that they
yeah,
can't possibly entertain the fact that someone might know a little bit more or have a better. And that's what I mean about that's definitely how I used to be. I used to love
mm,
arguing, whereas now I love learning, which is almost the same thing sometimes. It's just about how you articulate and how you deliver your disagreement. Because if you're open to learning, you're far less aggressive, you're far less attached to your belief. You still
yeah,
might hold it, but you're happy to be proven wrong.
mm,
And that's a
yeah,
different level of being comfortable enough to be wrong, isn't it? Whereas before,
yeah.
and I think there's that sort of that expression, isn't there, about what is it? You can't argue a man out of an opinion. You can't reason a man out of an opinion who didn't form that opinion based on reason. And
Mm.
that's when you see most people arguing. They're arguing about something they know nothing about that they're
It's
attached to for no reason.
it's dogma versus process.
Mm.
So if you're dogmatic, it means that you are unwilling to waver and you won't listen and you will not change how you feel about something. It's dogma, it's set in stone for no particular reason, without any proof. Process is what science should be. Not saying the science is the same thing as science. Science is literally the pursuit of knowledge, but via disproving the last thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's the scientific method. You are literally out to disprove yourself. And the whole point in a hypothesis is that you come up with an idea. And not only do you try and prove it, you try and prove it by disproving it.
yeah, yeah,
That's cool. That's a
yeah.
really cool concept, isn't it? And I think the more people that think like that and critically think and analyze and are open, and the worst people in the world, the people with the least open minds are the people that say, why aren't you open-minded?
Yeah.
Weird, isn't it?
And it's why aren't you open-minded to only believing what I tell you to believe?
Yeah. Good, isn't
I don't know.
it? Love it. Right. Anyway, I want you to have a nice last evening in your house.
Well, mate, I'm gonna sit and just take it in. It's weird, isn't it? Like, I don't know, just that sort of feeling of I don't know why I seem to have attached it to this place, and it's going to
How
be
long have you
sad
been there?
leaving it. Only 5 years, but
It's
God, the
still 5 years.
change, and it's like It was 2.5 years ago. I basically ended up in hospital with I had like food poisoning, I had E. coli and everything, and I got like a severe kidney infection, pneumonia, and everything. And I was like, it went great for a minute, and it was then I decided because I used to like go out party way too much and all that. So I was still training and stuff, but I wasn't like taking care of myself in the best way.
Mm.
And literally in hospital at that time, I remember thinking to myself, right, don't be a fucking fanny no more. This is your chance. And I came out and like didn't drink at all for a year. Like, and then until I learned to drink in moderation and just kind of, and I feel like in that time, because I weren't going out and doing anything, I spent a lot of time sat in this house forging a way to be better. And sometimes that were working out because I had the rowers C2 bag. Sometimes it was just working, and other times it was just literally just sat in my own solitude, just thinking about what I'd done, why I'd acted in certain ways in the past, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's just been a lot of personal growth, really.
Yeah. No, mate, I was in my old house for 10 years. from being, well, I moved in 2012, so June 2012 till August 2022, and I went from for early days of Katie, so like within a year of meeting Katie, I bought that house, and I went from fledgling relationship, and then within a couple of months of buying the house, she was at the Olympics, and then she retired, and then we settled down. She moved in. Then she went to Rio, and then we got married, sorry. Then went to Rio, and then we started having kids. And then we had lockdown where we were locked into this 2 up, 2 down with 2 toddlers. And then we made these big decisions. We opened and closed 2 gyms in that time, affiliates. Like we made and lost friends. We went to 10 to 15 funerals, we went to weddings. And then the night we moved out of that house, it was empty. And I was sat there on a camp chair thing, you know, the foldy out ones that come out. So I sat on one of them just looking around. And I was thinking, so much has fucking happened since we moved. We're in this house. This house means so much. And you know, like people talk about like theaters, and we talked about this affiliates and gyms. Like there's something that when you walk into these places, it's as if the energy has been absorbed into the walls and the floors, and you can feel the people that have been in there before you. Like something in there tells you that it's people have been in there. Like there's an energy. When you walk into a theatre, you know, an old London theatre, you walk in and you know people have cried and laughed and sobbed and whatever in that place. And that emotion that you're feeling today towards that house is the culmination of 5 years of all of those emotional experiences wrapped into one night that you're going to feel it. And feel it. Don't shy away from it. Let yourself.
Oh no, I do, mate. I'm like that. You know, if I'm feeling sad about something or happy or whatever it may be, I will sit and feel it. I won't try and distract myself. I won't try and like forget. I like to feel what I should feel, because that's how I think I deal with my emotions and feelings pretty well, is because I don't ignore them. I don't hide from them. I allow myself to feel them. And I will like I will feel sadness in leaving this place, but it's all for the right reasons. I'm doing it because I'm expanding, you know, the business is outgrowing the house, and I want to make sure I've got enough, you know, financial stability to move to the next level in the business and stuff like that. So it's all great stuff. So it's all for the right reasons. It's like, yeah. But yeah, I will feel it, and I'm like kind of looking forward to it. But I know I'm weird, mate. I've got like, we'll have to do a show on it about what I used to do when I was younger in terms of, you know, like being overly sentimental. It's a full show in itself, but we'll have to do that. I'll have to go really vulnerable and tell you that story. I was a fucking weirdo.
Yeah.
But
right,
it was like that.
We'll wait till Facundo comes on for that.
Oh, mate, he would literally.
He'd love that. Yeah, good. All right, mate.
Awesome. Right. Well, thanks for jumping on, pal.
All right.
Cheers for you, free watchers. Subscribe.